they don't apply because, or maybe they do, and you will agree with it. So I was going to say that one, as you know, an educational psychologist who's done and continues to do excellent work, as you know, with our students and our families. We are really privileged. And what you probably also know is that it's worked with many local authorities across the country and schools and their families, and it's very, very great demand for English language. It is in high demand, and we're very, very fortunate, therefore, as a school to have work with us on such a regular basis. He's also currently undertaking doctoral research into as part of educational psychology into leadership. He's going to be speaking to a number of heads about that. I know that he even asked me, however. But I just want to say that one, I'm ever so grateful for the work that he does for us, and given how busy he is and what demands are placed upon him, it's an absolute pleasure to have him something new to have. Thank you.
Okay, folks. I'm just wondering, because we know each other fairly well, whether I might do something very controversial as dispense of power. So there is a precedent for this because the American military did some research into why so many military missions in Afghanistan were going wrong. And one key factor was the over-reliance of PowerPoint. They just assumed that if it was on the screen, everyone would understand it, and off they went. So I think I'm going to, because it's a sort of personal aim of mine, unless anyone really sort of into Alright? Great. So, I'm going to close that down, and I presume because...
How much time did you spend preparing it? It's answer 4 minutes.
We've got
I've got some memories to cover up.
So now we're going to juggle.
Sam only had one slide.
I have got some slides. But to be honest, my experience has been that as soon as you get rid of a projector in a small group, thank you, it just makes it a bit more intimate.
I promise I didn't listen to it.
And it's a film.
Press one more time, sorry.
Yeah.
Just double press the off button.
Right, so that's a bit better. And then some people might even want to finish. I want to talk about something that at one level you're all fairly familiar with, because the concept of positive feedback as an intervention is, at one level, pretty well known, okay? But what often happens is, in practice, we forget these really useful bits of advice and revert back to more stereotyped ways of behaving, certainly in stressful situations, whatever they are. But in the classroom, another bit of research has been about how when teachers are stressed, they revert back to their most memorable experience of being taught. For me, it was dear Mr. Weston, who was supposedly the best Latin teacher in Christendom, but his habit of cracking your head against the desk if it was one of you, and two, if there was two of you, didn't necessarily help me out when I became a teacher. So I want to talk about an interesting bit of research to do with positive feedback. And it is really basic, but if we have time, I might just do a bit playful. Let's see how we go. So to start, I'll give you some slides in a second. Some handout slides, if we go back into the histories of psychology in the first instance, because psychology, as a definition, is the study of behaviour. It's not as glamorous as I thought it would be. I study behaviour, but that is it. That's what psychologists do. We can't explain behaviour and not doing it well. And in the beginnings of psychology and psychotherapy, following on from Sigmund Freud, Debbie Hopkins not here, because I mentioned Freud to Debbie to who?
And I said, let me tell you. She said, no, I don't want to know. And anyway, so, in the beginnings with Freud and others, there was a kind of toxic focus. It was a focus on pathology, on what is not going right, what's going wrong. And there's something quite seductive about that, certainly in psychology, because it allows you to kind of really forage into the dark recesses of the mind, to an evil complex or electra complex, or whatever. Which is great, and a lot has been written on it, a lot of careers have done very well from it, and it has a place. However, as a treatment, as an intervention in changing behaviour, toxic focus isn't the most effective way of changing things. As Aldous Huxley once said, rolling the muck is not the best way of getting clean. And that really has bearings when it comes to looking at sort of managing behaviour in the class. So in the kind of 60s and 70s in the States, there arose, and were some of you here for Dan Wilson's talk? Yeah, so he's talking about solution-focused, solution-oriented behaviour, which I'll touch on, but we're actually slightly different on that. But there arose a new school of thinking in sort of making people feel better, which was actually, you don't really need to know all about how bad their lives are. You just need to go focus on what works well and build it up. There was a lovely case, quite a famous therapist called Bill O'Hanlon, and he did this emergency session for a patient. It was a colleague of his who was on holiday, the patient was feeling suicidal. He didn't know anything about the case history, he didn't know the patient's deep unconscious desires of making love to his mother, whatever it was, following a Freudian view. He just said, so tell me what's going well with that. No one had ever asked him. No one had ever asked this patient what's going on at the moment. The focus is APT on what's going on. Patient went out feeling not better when we went in. And so Hanlon and others started thinking, there's some things we don't necessarily have to know everything that's going on to make it go well. So within the solution, within the therapy world, it's not the only model, and I have reservations about using a purely solution-oriented. But actually, if you find something that's going well, and you build on it, you get better, and then you come into PE, sports psychology, that's what you're doing, isn't it? You're trying to develop people's areas of strength. So that's the first kind of premise, and it has bearings on what we're going to talk about in a minute. The other two things that are linked are, first of all, the importance of attention. Because we are in a world now where the capacity to develop attention is pretty much on a downward spiral. Microsoft did some research 5 years ago. They kind of estimated that the average attention span of their workforce was about 30 seconds, and they've done it again recently, and it's dropped to about 20. Okay, so we are not capable of paying attention as a society. We're encouraged not to, not purely, but certainly media and smart technology destroying attention. But the flip side of that is that we are designed to seek attention, and a lot of behaviour that we sort of dismissively call, oh, that's just attention seeking. It's like, yes, it is attention seeking because we're hardwired to seek out attention. And if we don't get it, we crank it up until we do get it. And a very interesting, I suppose, so we've not got through an ethics committee. This is sort of Frederick, I'm not sure if it was Frederick II or Frederick I, probably the first, but he, in Prussia, obsessed to find out what language people speak if they're not sullied by sinful nature. So he got these orphan children, and all their physical needs were addressed. They were fed, they were bathed, they were clothed, and all the rest. But no human interaction was allowed because he wanted to find out, will they speak the language of angels? This was the big thing. I don't know, anyone ever read that book, Knowledge of Angels? Really interesting book. They find this girl who can't speak, and they're convinced that if no one talks to her, she'll grow up sinless and will be recognised by God and speak. Well, what happened within within a year, all the babies were dead. Yeah? They withered away because we are hardwired to get attention. And from the evolutionary point of view, it makes sense, doesn't it? If an infant doesn't get attention, it's not safe. So actually attention seeking, it runs deep, and we can be thoughtful about that in our classrooms, because actually we're dealing with something that's very primitive. And the genetic history of each of those students is such that whatever they're doing in that class has some advantage, because they're still here and their friends, kind of their great ancestors 10,000 times removed, got chomped by a saber-toothed tiger. So something about their behaviour is adaptive. It's worked. It's just that now we live in a more kind of nuanced, sophisticated society, and some of those behaviours don't work in the 21st century. So attention is indiscriminate. It doesn't care about labels, good or bad. It's just eyes on me. And if I get eyes on me, at some existential level, I get fed. And I move away from this feeling that I'm slowly greying and disappearing out of existence. What am I going to do? I'll pull Susie's pigtails. Back in zone. People yelling at me, but I'm alive. Yeah. Well, we all have that, if we're honest. We all have little moments. Right, and then the third part of the preamble is the concept of human suggestibility, which really offends our sense of self. But we are highly suggestible creatures. We know advertising works, otherwise we wouldn't spend so much money. I was trying to find the kind of references for a study that I read about a long time ago, which was lovely. It was just involved university students, and all they agreed to do, the kind of experimenters, was notice a piece of red clothing. They wouldn't say nice red shoes, but they would just say nice shoes or nice scarf. If it was a piece of red clothing, they'd say they'd notice it. Baseline at the beginning of the experiment, baseline at the end. Wow. By the end, 90% of the population in this kind of experiment had started wearing something red. Okay? So very subtle. We don't need to do very much to change behaviour. We just need to know. So that's a kind of preamble introduction to where this is going. And what I'll do is, if I hand these out, we'll just it's just one each. Tim's just thinking.
You've done something at this stage first.
I should just say that I purposely not done loads and loads of slides, because my intention is that we have a bit of a chat. So this Friday afternoon I could talk at length, but I thought it might be, so I'm going to give a bit of information and then see how it goes. I have got a possible idea for a slightly sort of playful experiment, but I haven't worked it out, so if we're up for it, we can try it, it might go wrong, otherwise we can just have a kind of, I suppose, a more thoughtful chat linking to practice. Last thing I should say is, there's in psychology, there's two things, and this is why it's, at one level, when I was writing this, I thought, oh heck, they're all going to turn on me and go, oh, suck eggs, Ad, what? But then I remembered this useful split between espoused theory, which is what we say we're going to do, and theory in action, which is what we actually do. I suppose the difference in a technical term is that what we think we're doing, what we know, is often stays up in the head. But it can take quite a while for it to get into sort of muscle memory, to what kind of, Yates called the marrow bone, the memory in the body. So I don't play golf very well at all, rarely. But in my mind, I know what a swing should look like. But it has absolutely no relevance to what happens when I go into a golf course. So one of the things about, one of the things I remind is when we talk about this stuff, at one level we know, it's not very surprising. another level, putting into your practice, your mouth muscles and tongue and your larynx, getting your facial expression right. That's a bit different. Okay, so spare the rod, spoil the child, which I, as a child, I was always confused about that because I thought it was advice. I thought that was spare the rod, spoil the child, be nice to hear. But what's wrong with this? Why do they always say it's so barbaric? Brilliant. And then I realised, historically, teaching and sort of corporal punishment have more or less gone hand in hand. That's not completely the case. They've always been enlightened educators, but historically, there has been a kind of a link between teaching and compliance, and the way of managing compliance was threat or actual visitation of corporal punishment. And you don't have to read very much Victorian literature, Jane Eyre. Dickens was shocked by the Yorkshire schools that he saw, and cruelty. If you've ever read any Victorian punishments for lateness, it's quite astonishing how brutal. And I suppose one possible reading of that is, for so long, behaviour was linked to sinfulness, or bad behaviour was linked to sinfulness, and the idea was that you wouldn't accept that, so it must be beaten out or something. But it's not really acceptable. And also it didn't work, so that's nice. So in 1979, Melvin Rutter, he observed 12 secondary schools in London. So really, it was a 5-year longitudinal study, about 2,000 students observed, and their conclusions was that schools relied on negative and critical approaches to behaviour. Punishments were twice as frequent as rewards. Okay? And this was replicated by another group, Mortimer and Co. in the 80s, 50 primary schools, and again, negative feedback. So punishment exceeds rewards. And in both those cases, they conclude that punishment does not correlate to improvements in learning or behaviour. So the classes where people were being punished, yelled at, told off, they were not doing better than classes where there was a lower frequency of yelling or whatever. So they started to be very clear that it doesn't work. And you also get in 1987 that was it children? I can't remember which act it was, but anyway, corporal punishment was banned in schools. A bit too late for me and Mr. Weston, but there you go. It's interesting as well, because I remember the time vowing I would one day grow up and then come back and punish him. And I got hatred for it. Now I look back and think, oh, I had despondence. Okay, so in coming into some more up-to-date research, UK teachers tend to give higher levels of praise for younger students. And there's a useful distinction between praise, criticism, and feedback. And that's an interesting and important sort of side point, that often we think that praise works as an intervention. Yes and no. Forensic, targeted praise is very effective. Indiscriminate praise is not helpful at all and can be quite damaging. So typically, things that praise the person, good boy, girl, or the outcome, that was brilliant, are less effective as a form of praise than praising the effort they put into something. So, I saw you working really hard there. Anyone, any ideas why that might be? So it's not just me talking. Why is praising the person not an effective tool for changing behaviour?
The person is the person.
Yeah, the person is the person, and it certainly might not raise any other questions. And there's some other reasons as well.
Because you're grooming the action, you're praising the thing that's being done that that person, whoever it is, has done.
Yeah.
So you want to elicit that from them more often. By praising it, you get that out of them because subconsciously they do it because it's just to be nice.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm praising you, good mom, you're not really clear why I praised you. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you have really low self-esteem, then my praise is discounted, because how you feel about yourself is far stronger than any words I could use. And that's critical, because now it breaks down the relationship, because I come across as fake, or I can't be trusted. So that, it doesn't work. And the same with outcome. Well done, you've got 9 out of 10, but so many of the children that end up going my way, they don't notice 9 out of 10 right. They focus on one wrong, and that signals to rip it up, trash the classroom. So again, it's focusing on the bit that you want more.
Sorry, sir. Is your thinking the growth mindset thing? If you say to somebody, you're really good at that, and they just want to stay in their comfort zone and not go to risk taking, and
Yeah.
praise their efforts, that encourages people to try more.
Exactly, yeah, that kind of fixed growth and untapped mindset. Dwight's kind of, she's kind of contributed immensely to that discourse on effective praise. And yeah, it works, we see it. So it's, I'm sure you've done some Dwight stuff, haven't you? So we're going with that. Okay, so the big thing is, one of the big things is there is a split in the type of things that teachers notice. And this guy that I'm taking his work from, Jeremy Swinson, he's made his career sitting in classrooms and just doing tally charts of teacher utterances. And then the main bit is between academic and social. Okay, so teachers tend to give praise, criticism, feedback for academic areas, how they've done in an essay, maths, whatever, and also they focus on social behaviours, which is what we often think about is the things that children are doing wrong when you think about behaviour. But actually, what we need to start noticing more and more is things that they're doing right, and we don't notice it, because that's the critical aspect in this type of intervention. So, in this research here, there's a strong relationship between teacher approval and on-task behaviour. So, the more approval a student, a group, a class gets, the more on-task, focused behaviour you get. Which again is not surprising, but often what happens is when things go wrong, one wheel falls off, and I'm sure I'm not alone in remembering classes where I've just felt completely happy. When you start, certainly. And it's terrifying. And what happens, the larynx constricts, heart rate goes up, and only the kind of most robust teachers, training teachers, newly qualified teachers, manage to sort of resist going to a more controlling. Can you stop doing that? Can you stop doing that? Put that down, please. It's human nature. There's a strong negative relationship between disapproval and on-task behaviour, and these guys concluded teachers are very quick to notice social behaviour of which they disapprove and continue to nag children about it. But they hardly ever approve of desirable social behaviour. That's the missing part of changing off-task to on-task behaviour. It's the invisible slap water grey moments where they're doing what we expect them to do that we don't notice enough. And when that is noted, that's where you get some growth. So just cover graphs, and then I'll show you, I'll talk you through this. So you can see their relationship between negative feedback and on-task behaviour in the secondary school. This guy, Jeremy Swinson, has done. So there's an awful lot. So when you get lots of negative feedback or very little feedback, there's a higher cluster at the top there. But actually you don't get that much on-task behaviour as you get sort of less and less negative responses. And then when they break it down even more, and this is where it becomes interesting, positive academic, secondary schools, in the set of observations that they carried out, there was a 50%, huge amount basically, of positive feedback for good work. Okay? But when it comes to actually students behaving well, it's only 2.9% of that observation set is based on well done, we said these things. And then by the same token, less feedback for negative academic, you didn't do so well. Actually, most of the time teachers focus really nicely on positive, but quite a lot of feedback for poor behaviour. Sit down, stop doing it. Okay? Last bit before I can come into the nitty-gritty. There's basically, I think it's 7 or 8 categories of off-task behaviour. And with the research they've done, and this thing that I'm going to show you in a sec, you can shift off-task to on-task behaviour by 19 to 20%. That's quite significant, just by doing the steps that we're going to talk about. You've got inappropriate in-seat behaviour, out-of-seat behaviour, shouting out, inappropriate talking, disturbing other pupils, arguing with, challenging the teacher, distracting the teacher, and inattention to tasks, daily analysis. That kind of fit with you, your experience? Yeah? Anyone want to say anything about that? Okay, so Swinson and Hart, what they kind of devised was this 4 simple steps program, and it's so simple that it's easy to overlook. We'll go through those and then we'll see how the time goes. So I'll just run through it here, and then I've got a more elaborate version in the sheets that I think I'll get you to talk about in groups. First step, instructions are direct, clear, and manageable chunks. Now this is a big thing, because if some of you read my advice, my reports, if there's a child with a working memory processing issue, so if you say things like, can you make sure you've got your book out, make sure you've got a green pen, and before you do that, put your homework on the desk. And then there'll be a number of children who either get lost or they start mucking about, because they're not able to hold that many commands in their head. So simple, clear instructions. The second is the most critical point. Follow any instruction by noticing the pupils who are doing it, okay? And acknowledge them. So you're not praising them, you're just saying, thank you for doing as I asked. And that in itself is the thing that shifts from non-compliant off-task behaviour to on-task behaviour. Frequently acknowledge pupils when they're on task and doing as required. This is important for disruptive students. They need to have a higher ratio of feedback for on-task behaviour than for off. Ideally a ratio of 5 positive feedback comments to 1 negative. Now this is, the reason why it's hard is that they are primed to start seeking attention and engaging in meaningful activities that are going to sabotage lessons. So it's quite hard to get in there with positive feedback when the child is disrupting a lesson. The natural response is say, can you stop doing it? But in terms of evidence based, what you've got to do is get in there before they start becoming off task. And then the 4th part, which ties in with school behaviour policies, have clear, consistent strategies for managing inappropriate behaviour. So, what I thought is, and then there's just a graph there at the back.
Well, you can define, define positive, and that be either academic or social, or that's very different.
Well, so in this case, if we're looking at off-task behaviour, it's got to be specific to the behaviour.
Yeah.
So the difficulty is, and this is what we have time, what we might try and do, is that you're getting a class out, and you've got to get in there with little Johnny, and so you're sitting nicely before he started to sort of disrupt.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly challenging because you've got classes of, I don't know, 25, 30 students. But if you can do it, I think it's better for a plate spinning. You start plate spinning, and as long as you're back there before that plate falls off, you're sitting nice and away again. Then more like, well, the evidence says you're going to get up to sort of 90% increase in on-task behaviour. So the challenge is
not just praise the behaviour, not necessarily so you completed that activity or something like that. Would that be
well, actually, I tell you what, hold that, because I've got I want you to have a look at the actual explicit words in the set. But it is more or less, get your books out. Johnny, thank you, put your book out, okay, and then move on. Get your pen, start writing, Johnny, thank you for writing a pen, before he starts sabotaging. And the reason why I thought it was helpful is because if we look at that last graph there, we do start to see, not just for the most challenging children, but for whole classes, when they've done this project for infant, junior and secondary schools, you do see quite a significant shift in sort of on-task behaviour. So yeah, 76 to 93%, and 66 to 79 for the bottom 5% most statistically teachers. So it works. Isn't it?
Does it essentially work vicariously? So, if rather than point out people who aren't doing the things they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
you point out ones that do and others say no.
Yeah.
One
So-
one praise, one positive praise rather than you
Yeah.
don't give them the attention to do a negative thing.
Exactly. And what you can do, one of the things there is proximity praise. So if you haven't done this in the past, I would notice the two hands as the first step. Okay? And then that brings you back. Because we're coming back into the idea of human suggestibility. Oh, I want to be noticed for stuff. I know I know that everyone's wearing red. Basic. So tell you what, take this 4 essential steps bit here, and maybe in this group, let's just go through, I know, steps, just the first page for now, okay? Just have a read and a chat, and we'll come back to the group in about 5 minutes. And see if we can make some links. So maybe think about making links to your own practice as well, okay? Agreed. Have you got it?
Yeah, wait.
Is it the one in the slide there?
It's the 4 essential steps.
Yeah.
This one, this extra sheet. Have you got it? Oh, no.
No.
Oh, that's fine. Sorry. Okay, go there. Sorry about that. There.
I want to ask, so in 1987, corporal punishment was banned in schools. How prevalent was it in schools in 1986? I was very young then.
Yeah.
I thought it was way before I started schooling.
No, state schools, it was 1987. It was,
In most state schools.
well, it was banned, it probably wasn't used.
No, but was it right up to ban in most state schools still? I was under the impression that it was,
I think
it was
it's-
70s, 60s.
I think there was a groundswell against it in the early 80s, and then that was
So some schools would have stopped using it, and then it was banned.
but I would imagine in the 70s it was used in all schools,
It's used in my
primary and
school.
secondary.
Every Friday, the head teacher and the same girl were doing the same thing every Friday.
So it works.
Was it you?
Like water notes never knew, but I do remember thinking, I think by about Christmas it might have sort of, it was called up a third one, they said, but I remember thinking this is not working.
No.
Because the same people are still being kept for the same thing. And it was literally like that. It was the same girls every Friday being caned for exactly the same thing.
What were they doing? What was it they were paying for?
It was really, it was not.
Was it in public?
Yeah, in front of us, we all sat there every Friday, we sang a hymn, we said a prayer, and then we watched the whole school, singing, said a prayer.
Pray this on years.
Yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
I knew it was never going to be me.
Sure.
But it was the things like not doing your homework on time, being late to a lesson, not having your flannel knickers on for PE, just normal. Any.
Concerned by the relish with which Ryan appears to be listening to it.
We,
I had no idea that was still going on in the 80s. I knew it happened.
sorry,
Didn't really know when.
I love you, Ryan. You've always been my favourite PE teacher. It was the 70s. But I can say,
I think, yeah, I mean,
But it
before
wasn't
we-
universal. I went to secondary school. I'm a lot older than that. I didn't see any. Well, and I didn't see any anywhere. So,
I mean, I came from the States in 1983, and I thought I was coming to, I had like the slipper and the camera. Oh my God, it's like, I'm in a movie. So I was simply couldn't wait. My friend simply, I didn't get the slipper. I'm glad now because I didn't really have an understanding what it's like. I couldn't believe that this sort of stuff really happened. It's like medieval England. Oh my God. And I was really shocked when my friend had to go up to their teacher and get the slipper and thank him afterwards. It's like, how can this be happening?
Cheers. See you next week.
That's the important
we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Right, okay. If you just read through this, and we'll have a chat, and then we'll see about time. I think we're going to finish it. I think since it's 20 past, we'll have time. Read through those first 3 bits for now. And we'll have a. I'll talk a bit about the last one.
Yeah. I was wondering if you feedback.
Okay, so step one
I'll do the one
is
step,
about reconstruction.
So that's very simple. Give you instructions, then praise the ones that are following. So single out those that aren't following instructions. If it takes you out those out,
What I've actually classed recently is you've got a sample of tip through and what already organised, so you can do some two or three to try and chunk those information blocks.
Acknowledge the behaviour, one's doing the
Very
first
simple. First step.
Well, that's exactly the person but there is nothing there for us.
so if you're in a class environment,
Come in with the right
or
side.
changing these things and relate to these.
I think classes maybe one of the
The classes might change.
and they
And
still
then some of them.
and we have to remind ourselves to again the comments when
Calculator, so I know.
And also,
you don't want
yes,
to
I was going to say,
we know this
I might be using by the second week, so give it.
No,
And
so you just
then
don't-
you go further, like, get ready for the next, so you can go and
Okay, tell you what you say.
yeah. Then the third is you just want to use that name about what it is that you want to do. What I'm doing is sitting there, the backstone.
I wonder if also sometimes
Another thing is about feedback.
sometimes students understand when something always gets praised and we don't want to give a student a difficult oh yeah it's always them and I suppose it's about creating in the whole class but I don't know whether there's a kind of there's elements sometimes students don't want to look like
Yeah, I think we can see it, doesn't it?
yeah, sometimes that's about I guess changing
Yeah, it's different.
to make it okay and it's not the right thing.
Now, everyone has that.
Okay, so three,
Very much.
come back as it. So, and in a sense, I just had a bit of that conversation. It's kind of obvious that so obvious that sometimes it's easy to forget it. And I think we'll open up into a bit of a discussion in a minute. But one of the things that happens is we have an expectation in our mind. That's what minds do. They kind of create reality. So I have an expectation based on my lesson plan, or whatever type of plan. This is how it's going to be. Yeah. And the problem with difficult behaviour, challenging behaviour, off-task behaviour, is it's very noticeable in the same way that stepping on a nail is noticeable. It disrupts your expectation, the flow of how things should be done. And that's why it's very easy to be pulled into, can you stop doing it? Because the drive of any human system is to get back onto how things should be. And the skill is in actually training ourselves to accept, Buddhist in a sense, but accept what is, and then you can take some of the pressure off your own self and start noticing, okay, it's about noticing when you're doing the work, and it just puts the lesson into a different frame of mind. It does great things for the rapport as well. But what were people saying? Because it's more important that you talk as a group than a group.
We were talking about step one and giving clear instructions. And you kind of talking about the fact that they can't take on 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you feel the pressure to say these instructions in a row because you want to get them started, get them learning as soon as you can. And we said, although if at the start you can say, sit down, put the thumb up, and put the thumb up. after a while, surely, when coming into your lesson and getting into that routine, and you could then just go equipment. And they should be well trained to do that. But I think it's the pressure that, and like you said right at the start, you think about things and how we're going to do it, and then when we get into the actual situation, or the behaviour, we can't think as slow as we'd like to do when we're actually in a position to teach. So you don't always do what you think you're going to do. I think it's all about pressure all the time. But when you read it, straightforward enough.
So what? Yeah.
I think you're right about the pressure thing actually, and I think even though I know that actually lots of my students do come in and, I don't know, it's feeling to get changed and come and sit by the board with things on, or the exercise lesson, they come in and they get their books out and they write the date and title and look at what the status task is. I still feel like I've got to stand in front and give those instructions for those who don't do that, because it's actually almost me that's trained to feel like I should give them those instructions to make sure I've ticked off everything I should be doing, rather than knowing that they can do that and they just do it and I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah. But also the fact that they're doing it is, we expect it so we don't feed back on it. But for the children who aren't doing it, one of the most powerful interventions is to notice those who are doing it and say, right, you lot, thank you for that, you're doing whatever. And then those that don't, peer pressure and all the rest of it brings to bear a sense, oh, that's what I should be doing. And again, the evidence is there. What about some of the other people?
We said that. Oh, sorry.
Go on. No, it's good.
We said about being sincere. Oh, you go. You go.
I'm sure you're going to say no to what I was just going to say, it feels like going off piece, doesn't it, to let your lesson plan to take longer, go out of control, take more time, just to get that established. Feels like going a bit off piece, and that going off piece and taking a bit of risk is actually what feels, like you might not be in control, but actually if you're not in control at the very start, which is actually establishing a place to learn and being a place to learn, then you might as well wash your hands of it anyway, really. I'm sure you had something much more interesting to say.
I forgot one. No, I don't. Something Mark said actually, related to point 3, was name the individuals or group. And then someone said, one of the biggest barriers to creating positive behaviour or giving positive feedback is when you're rising with a teacher, you don't know any of the students' names. It's really difficult to establish that positive environment.
I think it is a real challenge. I had cause to reflect on this because I don't do your job, so I'm always very sensitive that it looks good on paper, but does it work? And it did actually. I was doing some work with large groups. I was asked to do some mindfulness sessions for groups of students who hadn't asked to do mindfulness. So there was a bit of a mindful there and then. And there was one child he was hell bent on stepping up. There was no way, he didn't know me, and he wanted to cause significant disruption and storm out. And actually, it didn't. I had to ask him his name, but then by the end of it, I was actually saying, I like the fact, your aggression is very useful. Come here and be aggressive to this child here, and you're going to practice mindfulness, and you're going to help him. And he was so astonished that I was using him helpfully, and then saying, thank you, you're being very helpful. And he was punch drunk. No one had ever said to him, what you're doing is quite helpful, and I'm going to use you more. And I was quite relieved because I was on my own with 20 at the beginning, very angry children. But thankfully they all tuned in a bit. But so holding on to an approach that notices desirable behaviours and not getting stuck in behaviours that actually cause the heart to hurt. And I was really scared because he was being quite unpleasant to me and quite a number of other people. So I could have easily been sucked into stop that, sit down, stop that, get out.
That's the reason I was saying that earlier, your comment reflecting back on my own teaching career.